So the Battle of Endor was one of the most crucial battles in the history of the Rebel Alliance. It saw the destruction of the second Death Star and the death of the Emperor, and would ultimately spell the beginning of the end for the Empire. And with Star Wars Squadrons right around the corner, I figured today we could take a look at the Rebel squadrons present at the battle. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So for the Battle of Endor, the Rebel Alliance brought basically everything they had. This included a large number of different fighter squadrons. Most of them have storied histories stretching all the way back to the very early days of the Rebel Alliance. So let's get started with the most famous squadron, Red Squadron. Red Squadron is probably most notable for the roles they played during the Battle of Scarif and Yavin, which ultimately resulted in the destruction of the Death Star. It should be noted that Red Squadron was the squadron that Luke Skywalker flew with during the Battle of Yavin, which made them one of the more prominent squadrons present at the Battle of Endor. During the Battle of Endor, they were flying a combination of X-Wings, A-Wings, and Y-Wings, and were led by Wedge Antilles. During the Battle of Endor, it was fighters from Red Squadron that ultimately made it all the way to the core of the Death Star and destroyed the battle station. The next squadron we're going to discuss is Gold Squadron. During the Battle of Endor, Gold Squadron were flying Y-Wings and A-Wings, and they were being led by the Millennium Falcon. Like Red Squadron, Gold Squadron dates all the way back to before the Battle of Yavin. And of course, they played a role during the Battle of Yavin, and other subsequent battles leading up to the Battle of Endor. The Millennium Falcon, which was also technically part of Gold Squadron during the battle, also played a crucial role in penetrating and destroying the Death Star. The next squadron is Blue Squadron. During the Battle of Endor, Blue Squadron was flying a combination of B-Wings and A-Wings. The only notable pilot I was able to find from Blue Squadron during the Battle of Endor is Ten Nub, a Celestin bounty hunter. The earliest mention of Blue Squadron canonically was right before the Battle of Scarif, where the squadron carried out an attack on the Imperial Research Facility on Edu. Like most other Rebel squadrons at the time, they played a role at the Battle of Scarif, where they were flying X-Wings and Y-Wings, and interestingly, they also played a role during the Battle of Hoth. They were one of the squadrons scrambled in T-47 snowspeeders during the battle to engage Imperial walkers. During the Battle of Endor, their most notable achievement was this squadron single-handedly took down 2 Imperial-class Star Destroyers. Next up is Blade Squadron, who flew mostly B-Wings during the Battle of Endor. Unlike most of the other squadrons on this list, they actually don't have a huge history before the Battle of Endor. Most of what we know about Blade Squadron is the role they played after the battle. We know that they played a crucial role during the Battle of Malastare, as well as the New Republic assault on the Kuat drive yards. And lastly, we know that they were present during the Battle of Jakku, flying a combination of B-Wings and X-Wings. During the Battle of Endor, this squadron single-handedly destroyed the Devastator, an Imperial-class Star Destroyer which was at one time the flagship of Darth Vader. Next up is Green Squadron. Now, we know almost nothing about Green Squadron, but they did play a really significant role during the Battle of Endor. Green Squadron was flying primarily A-Wings, and it was one of Green Squadron's A-Wings that ultimately took down the Executor. With the Executor's shields down, one of these A-Wings was able to penetrate the screen of defensive fire in front of the Executor's bridge and crash into it, ultimately causing the Executor to careen out of control and impact the Death Star. Riot Squadron. They were flying primarily A-Wings and B-Wings during the battle. Outside of the Battle of Endor, most of what we know about Riot Squadron is after the battle, where they played roles in several major battles during the later half of the war. Then we have Corona Squadron, which was flying X-Wings during the battle, and they are another squadron that we don't know too much about them outside of the battle, although we do know that they were involved at the Battle of Hoth. And last but not least is Grey Squadron. Grey Squadron flew Y-Wings, A-Wings, and B-Wings during the Battle of Endor. The only other battle we know that they were involved in was the Battle of Vorgus Voss, which was before the Battle of Endor. On top of those squadrons, there is a couple other notable mentions here. Among the ranks of the Rebel fighters present at the Battle of Endor were a few U-Wing transports, of which we don't really know where they factor in when it comes to squadrons. As I mentioned earlier, the Millennium Falcon was a member of Yellow Squadron, but we also know that the Ghost was involved in the battle, although we do not know which squadron the Ghost would have belonged to. So as of now, those are the fighter squadrons that were present at the Battle of Endor, but I'm sure we'll hear about more of them later this week when Star Wars Squadrons comes out. If you're as excited about Squadrons as I am, maybe you'll want to learn more about some of the fighters we're expecting to be able to fly in that game. And if you are interested in that, I'll leave a link up here to my playlist of videos on Starfighter lore. There you'll find videos covering various fighters that will be able to fly in the game. And I want you to let me know down in the comments what your favorite squadron that was present at the battle was. There are so many to choose from, I know it's a little bit of a tough choice. And lastly, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.